Are you ready?
Ready.
Are you ready to be the superstar that you are?
I'm ready.
All right. Hello, good afternoon, beautiful people, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. And thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Abroad and Thriving, because why? We're abroad and thriving. And on this beautiful day, we have Kevin. Kevin, please introduce yourself and let the world know who you are and what you do here in Playa del Carmen.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Connolly. I'm the founder of Reconnect, and I'm a breathwork teacher here in beautiful Playa del Carmen.
That's awesome. So we're going to go into both of those, Reconnect and the breathwork that you do. But how I was introduced to you, right, was ice bath.
Yep.
So how did you, first, before we get to ice baths, we have three things to discuss in all you do. So how did you get to Playa del Carmen, and where are you originally from?
How I came to Playa is a complicated story, but I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, shout out Cleveland.
I came to Playa via Seattle. I was living in Seattle during COVID and just had to get out, and decided to come to Mexico, and after a few months of traveling through, kind of looking for a place, I ended up here.
All right, and what were some of Seattle, how was that experience? Especially during COVID.
I wouldn't want to repeat it. It was definitely, I was there for my master's program.
Okay.
So I was working in human rights prior to this, and it was the first time that I was living back in the US after 8 years living abroad.
Where were you before that?
All over Asia. I was in Thailand for a while, I was in Nepal for a while,
This
South
hat's from
Korea.
Thailand.
Yeah. Perfect.
Bangkok City. Anyways, go ahead.
So yeah, I had gone back for a few years thinking like I wanted to be back in the US, I was closer to family, all of that. But after a few years of being there, I realized it just wasn't the place for me anymore.
Yep. That's all. I will be diplomatic and answer like how you diplomatically answered and say yep.
Yeah.
And what did you like in Asia that you stayed there so long and traveled?
So many things. I mean, the culture is just so incredibly different, as you know. To be honest, like, yeah, food is amazing, language is really interesting, it's beautiful, they're beautiful people. The lack of rules was something that I really enjoy. You know, it's just like, they didn't have that strict enforcement of, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, or you'll get sued, lawsuits, all of that
Give
stuff.
an example of that so that we could, give one example so that we could understand in like practical terms in real life.
So, you know, a lot of the activities out there, whether it's like water sports, whether it's skydiving, whatever.
And which country too?
Sorry, in Thailand.
Okay.
You know, if you die,
You die.
it's on you. You know what I mean? Like, if you do something stupid, the place isn't gonna get sued because you did something stupid. It's basically just it's all on your own judgment. So, and this would happen pretty regularly out there. And I kind of like that. Like, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. And so that was just very different. And I just loved, like, you know, Thailand is a unique country because it's surrounded by all these other really interesting places.
Yes.
Malaysia, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar.
Indonesia.
So yeah, so I was able to kind of just go all around those places. I was a photographer at the time. So I did a lot of traveling, and in a very small area, you have, you know, 8 different countries that are all very unique, all very different. So I got to see a lot of the world in a very small area.
And capture so many beautiful things and moments and people and experiences.
Yeah.
And now, fast forward, where did you travel inside of Mexico? And why did you travel to different places? Was it to find, you know, a place to be you and be settled, or you were just traveling to travel and you'll figure it out?
Yeah, so when I first came here, I wanted to find the place that was a good fit. So I started in Sayulita over on the Pacific side, and then went over to Guanajuato, then down to Oaxaca, then up to Merida over here on the Caribbean side. And I got my diving certification up in the cenotes in Merida. and I heard that the diving down here in Playa del Carmen was really good, and I had really no interest in living here. It didn't seem like my kind of place, but I thought like, oh, I'll go there for a month and check it out. And almost as soon as I moved here, people just started handing me things that I just really needed in my life, and I just started meeting people with the right kind of perspective that I needed at the time. And I just kept being handed like tools that really helped me heal from a really serious depression that I was in.
Oh, one, I'm sorry you were going through that at the same time. And two, I'm happy you decided to put yourself in the right position, right? You started it off with, oh, I don't know if I want to live here, come here, but you said, I'll try.
Yeah.
And simply by trying, you were able to, the universe helped guide you 100%. And by allowing yourself to be available for that.
Yeah.
So that's a good story where you, at your low, you tried and it helped.
Yeah.
And you helped heal yourself as well because it's you and the world, right?
Exactly.
So I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm happy that, you're able to discuss it.
Well, it's I don't think about it. I look at it now as one of the best things that ever happened to me, right? Because I think depression is a very human thing that a lot of people need to go through because we kind of need to hit the bottom to see what that's like and to know like, yeah, we don't want to go there anymore. And depression now, there's so many misconceptions about it, particularly about how long someone should be depressed for. And, part of the reason why we started Reconnect was because we feel like the medical industrial complex or the pharmaceutical industrial complex is just keeping people in that state of depression for way too long.
It's profitable for them.
Exactly. And we have the tools to pull ourselves out of it. We just have to find them.
And I can't wait, everyone. I can't wait until we get into discussing Reconnect because that sounds like it could help many people and help people from within.
Yep.
And that's all answers are within, right?
Exactly.
So now that you came to when you started in Playa del Carmen and you decided to stay here and you building these businesses. So tell us what your businesses are that you have here, like you started before, but go into depth like this is business A, business B, and this is what I do, and these are who I help, so that everyone could understand.
Sure. So I was working remotely for a nonprofit back in the States.
Okay.
And I started, once I got out of my depression, I started learning about breathwork. I wanted to understand like how I was able to heal myself so quickly. So I started doing a lot of certifications, a lot of trainings, and then I started teaching other people about breathing and about functional breathing and about breathwork. And then on the side, I had started doing these ice baths because someone had taken me to my first ice bath when I was in the midst of my depression, and it just shot me out of it. So I was super interested in that from the start. So I had been doing these ice baths just by myself on Sundays.
And where? Like how? Like for example,
Just
say you just moved here from Seattle, and you're like, I'm gonna get some tubs. I'm like, how? Like, explain to us how like it even like the minute detail. Like, I'm going to do ice baths on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And how did you get the equipment? Oh, tell us the story so we can like understand.
So there was a person who was doing it, and after about a month or two, he left.
Who was this? Vance?
No, this was a guy named Tony.
Okay.
And so he left town, and suddenly there was no more ice baths. And so I started talking to my friends, and I was like, maybe I should start doing this. And they were all like, absolutely, like, you're already doing breath work. It's right down your alley. And my friend Sarah actually had a tub. So she gave me the tub, so all I needed to do was get the ice. So I started just, having a friend pick me up, getting some ice. Actually, my friend Marina, I should say her name because she's
Hello,
great.
Marina.
And we started going down to the beach on Sundays, and I started a little WhatsApp group. Started just having people, book in through the WhatsApp group. And before I knew it, like I was doing 2 sessions a day, like really quickly, because it's a powerful practice.
Yes.
And after about maybe 9 months of sort of doing that like on the side, this guy named Phil Parkinson, who's an English guy, had started a fitness company out in Dubai. He was coming and he was like, I really believe in what you're doing. Do you want me to help you to build this into something? And so at that point is when we branded Reconnect. We built a website. Awesome. We started picking up our game a little bit. Like we got some nice speakers for the music. We started really thinking about the breath work, the whole process. Like, how do we make this better? How do we make it better? How do we make it better? So that was Reconnect. And then on the other side of that was my own breathwork teaching,
yes,
which I've been doing now for 2 years. And it's really, I'm trying to take people through the same experience that I had, which was, if you can practice breathing every single day, you can really make changes in your life. And a lot of people know, like, small changes, when you make several small changes, it can add up to a huge change in your life.
Yes, like 1%, right? 1%
Exactly.
change every day, that's 365%, or 366 in leap year, right?
Exactly.
And then you, because most of us and how we were trained, right? And I could only speak from the Western perspective, or trained in this is how you do it in a confined way. That's how I'm gonna diplomatically say, in a confined way. And we see like big tasks as like, oh, monumental. But if we break it down to 1%, it seems very small, not even like anything.
Absolutely.
Or the Japanese calls it kaizen, right? A little improvements each day.
Exactly. Yeah, and I found that through breathing, and the breathing and the ice are just really connected. So they go hand in hand, because something like an ice bath is just a breathing exercise. So it's just these little things that people can do that are free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need a prescription.
True.
You don't need to pay anything for it. Like, you can just do it by yourself at home.
And I want to ask about this. How did you discover breathing? Well, we're breathing naturally, but like specialized breathing or intentional breathing. That's how. How did you discover it, and then how did you say, "Oh, I would like to explore more and see where it will go"?
Yeah. So when I left the U.S. And moved to Mexico, it was really day 2, sitting on the beach in Sayulita, looking out at the waves. It was a beautiful day, and I was just like, something is terribly wrong. I just felt really, really awful, and I realized, like, I'm depressed. Like, I'm experiencing depression, and the next few months just got worse and worse. My relationship of 3 years ended.
I'm sorry.
I became suicidal. I started picking up addictions because I just couldn't stand feeling this way. And so when I landed in Playa, it was like I was just at the bottom. So I was depressed, but I was just also so energetically depressed. I couldn't get off my couch. I was in this beautiful place. I wanted to go out and meet people. I wanted to do yoga. Like, I wanted to go exercise, but I was just glued to my couch. And I had a lot of people in my life who had experienced depression, who either never made it out or have been on antidepressants for years and are still depressed. So I knew I didn't want to go that route. So I started kind of looking online for holistic approaches and practices, and I found breath work, and I was sort of like, oh, I can do that on my couch. Like, I don't have to move. I can do that right here. So I just dove in. I signed up for a teacher training.
Here in Playa?
Yeah, it was an online teacher training. And after about a week of breath work, my depression was gone.
What?
And not only was my depression gone, I was feeling better than I ever had before in my life, because I realized that it's not just depression, it's emotions, right? It's anxiety, it's stress. When you understand how to control your breathing, you put yourself in a place where suddenly you don't let anxiety control your life. You don't let stress control your life. And so suddenly, not only was the depression gone, but all the other shit was gone. So I quit smoking cigarettes. So I basically stopped drinking. I slowed my drinking down. I still drink. My insomnia was gone. Like all of these things just disappeared as soon as I got my breathing under control.
Thank you for sharing all that. One, thank you for being able to share, you know, the vulnerability and then the sadness with your experience, which again, like you said, something beautiful. It is a human experience. And many, again, living in the US, it's here's a pill, here's a pill, here's a pill.
Yeah.
However, sometimes we do have to be human to go through it, like you just said, so that we know we don't want that,
Right.
and force ourselves to work. So thank you for sharing that. And second, it is amazing that we do not know this. This is not taught to us in our regular day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Because it could avoid, like if you imagine all those kids that are born and like some kids have mental problems or mental health problems or just like regular emotional problems because they were born poor without the right parents or in just a horrible environment with people just like them that are like all experiencing hell on earth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine if they knew, oh, let's try this breath work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could save so many like minds and like people won't give up by the time they're 10 years old.
Exactly.
Right? If
Yeah.
they knew, and this is free, like you said. So
Yeah.
imagine like in kindergarten, pre-K, they taught us this.
100%. And it's, you know, nowadays a lot of people associate anxiety and stress with their personality. So they'll say like, I'm just an anxious person. Like I'm a stressed person.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you're just experiencing anxiety. You're
Exactly.
just experiencing stress.
Exactly.
And you're just letting that just circulate in your mind.
And be a justification not to work on it too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, for me, it just totally changed things. You know, after that, I started free diving. I started getting really interested in tantra, like all these things that the breath was connected to. I started trying them because I was just like, wow, like if I can do all this with breathing, like what else can I do with breathing? Like what else can I do with my body that can take me out of these states and put me into really positive ones? And since then, I've realized a lot.
This is
a
beautiful.
lot of states. Like you can do so many things just with breathing.
This, ready? I usually do this at the end, but this sounds so amazing. I want people to know where could they reach you to, one, find out more information and or sign up for your assistance.
Yeah.
Because again, I like mental, emotional problems that we have, or to us, like you said, people think I'm this, I'm that. That's a society forced programming in our heads. We are just, right? And we decide what we are. So this is like super important, this topic and self-healing.
Totally.
So where could people find you? Let them know, please.
Yeah. It's just kevinpconnolly.com is my website.
All right.
And then on Instagram, I'm also Kevin P. Connolly.
And we'll put that in the description, in the details section, in whichever platform you on, and on screen. But we'll ask him this again because now let's go to the business that you have, Reconnect.
Yep.
And tell us what it's about and who could get help from it.
Yeah. So, you know, as I said, I'd started doing these ice baths. Phil Parkinson came along, helped me build it up. And so what it is, it's about an hour-long experience.
Okay.
Every day we have anywhere from 10 to 25 folks who come down to the beach. It's on like this beautiful slice of beach right here in Playa. It's kind of like a tiny little nook. And so you come down and we do about a 15-minute breathing exercise. And breathing before something like an ice bath is really great because it helps just kind of connect you to your body and it helps warm you up a little bit, like it warms your core up, so it makes the ice a little bit better. So we kind of guide you through that and then we talk to you about what to do when you go into the ice, because a lot of people nowadays, like they hear it's really good, so I hear this a lot. They just like try it at home with their friends and they all just take turns jumping in and they're freaking out when they go in because they don't know how to breathe and they don't know what to expect. So we kind of explain what's gonna happen and we help people explain like, you know, the first minute's the hard part, you just need to focus on your breath. So we all guide them through about a 3.5 minute ice bath.
Okay.
You know, we have music down there. It's just a really good vibe. It's like the community that we have there is people who care about their health, their fitness, and people, you know, really similar to me who aren't afraid to be vulnerable, aren't afraid to talk about like, yeah, I went through this, like I had this addiction, I had this problem. because I feel like, the more we're able to talk about those things openly and just share that we're all human, the easier we can kind of work through them all.
Yes.
So yeah, we do the breath work, and then we do the ice, and then sometimes we have a group huddle afterwards. But we've done a ton here, like in Playa. I've done breathing workshops for people. We've done 30-day challenges. We actually, the last challenge we did was a phone detox challenge.
Phone detox?
Yeah.
Explain,
Yeah,
give me the details. Everyone's going to be scared that they're like, phone detox.
Yeah, well, Phil Parkinson and I both realized that we were addicted to our phones.
Okay.
So, the ice bath is something that we're doing almost every day, but we're like trying to figure out a way to help people get other good habits into their lives or break other habits in their lives. So this challenge was just, each day it was a different tip on how you can create more distance between yourself and your phone.
Okay.
So it wasn't like you can't use your phone for 30 days. It was like, all right, here's some boundaries that you can set today. Tomorrow, we'll talk about some other boundaries. So like we put limits on our apps, we changed our phone to black and white because our eyeballs and our brains are really addicted to color. So when we jump onto Instagram, a lot of that is just the colors that we're seeing that makes us want to do this. So just little tips and tricks to help people use their phone a little bit less. So we do things like that. We have parties down on the beach, like once a month, and anything to just bring people together.
In a healthy way.
And
supportive way.
Exactly.
Because it sounds like that's your community. And what I find here in Playa is like when you're watching it from afar, right? Or you hear people speak about it, everyone's like, oh, that's so, like, and I use this word too, hippy dippy all the time. But here in Playa, depending on when you do your research or like finding people like you, it actually is real. And it actually has a community and actually has results. Because results is all that matters.
100%.
Positive results too, right?
Yeah, and like we talk a lot about the science on our website, but at the same time, who cares? You know what I mean? Like
33%.
What matters is how you feel afterwards. And taking an ice bath is like riding a jet ski. You can't get out of an ice bath and not smile. You know what I mean?
If you survive through it, I'm scared of it. I'm not going to lie.
You're gonna be fine.
Do you
I
mind?
promise.
Look, I'm going to psych myself in order to be able to open to do it.
Yeah.
But I am scared to do it because I hate cold with a passion. Like I told my family last year, and when I say my family, my parents and my aunts, and my uncle was there too, being raised in New York was child abuse. That's how much I hate cold. Even though they were so nice, they're still nice and loving and careful. Like I'm blessed to have the family I have, but that cold.
Oh yeah.
So that you're talking to that person.
Terrible.
All right, that person that hates.
But I'm from Cleveland too,
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
Same.
So you're a little bit colder than me. But so thinking of ice baths is scared. So I'm even willing to try it, and when I do, I don't mind having the cameras watch me do it, so that I could encourage people who have my mindset. That's like, no, that's no cold.
Well, that's one of the great things about it is everyone's scared, right? Everyone's scared the first time. But like as adults, isn't that what we should be doing? Like we should we should be doing the things that we're scared of. Because when we're young, that's reserved for the time when we can say like, nah, I know that's not good for me. But when we get older, we need that proof. Like we need to know if we're gonna like it or not. Because a lot of times once we do it, we find out we actually do like
right? Yes, as an adult, except for ice baths. But I'm willing because how you explained it is different. Because a lot of like as in life, fear. But I wouldn't say I'm scared. Ice baths. Before I continue, I'm petrified. That's a better word. But
I like your honesty.
Fear comes from not knowing, and how you explained it to me gives me better understanding. And you have a mental and breathing practice that prepares, and while you're in it, that helps you maintain.
Exactly.
Thus, I never heard it this way or saw it that way. I see on YouTube or more YouTube, the wolf guy that swims in the cold.
Wim Hof.
Cold water, and he explains like the breathing and all that stuff. But I watch it, I'm like, man, that guy is brave and he's a genius, and I would love to get there.
Yeah.
But I never even start getting there. But now you've helped me. You've helped add substance and context to my mind to be able to be open to it.
Amazing.
So thank you for, see, you're helping me already. And now let's go to lifestyle. Since you do all these amazing things and helping other people, what do you do for yourself here in Playa? What does Playa allow you to do here that you couldn't do in Cleveland or in Seattle?
Yeah.
Like, what's your lifestyle? Yeah.
I mean, I'm at the beach a lot. You know, I love being out in the water. Like, we have a lot of cenotes around here, so I love going out and freediving. But I spend a lot of time in the work that I do, like whether that's helping other people facilitate breathwork ceremonies. Like sometimes I'll do breathwork ceremonies at the cenotes out here. Sometimes I'll lead ice baths at the cenotes. Whether it's, you know, helping people with other teacher trainings, because I'm really interested in the research.
Okay.
Like I know all about the science of a lot of this stuff. So a lot of folks who, they understand how important it is, they've experienced like the power of it, they want someone to come to sort of explain a little bit more in depth. So that's what I do. And I love doing it. So I collaborate with a lot of people, whether that be like on retreats, on teacher trainings, on podcasts. But otherwise, like, yeah, I'm at the beach a lot. I'm at the cenotes a lot. I like to go to the islands a lot. Anything.
Tell them which
water.
islands. They don't know.
Yeah.
Like we're privy.
Yeah, that's true. So Cozumel, which is right across the bay.
Yeah, you could see it. I guess those boats that are behind us.
Yeah.
Those are coming from Cozumel. Those boats. I'm calling them boats, but they're big. Big cruise lines.
They're ships. Yeah.
They're ships. Like, these little boats. Excuse me, these big cruise ships. So Cozumel, where else?
So Holbox, which is a little bit north.
I like.
And then, like, you know, Bacalar, which is the lagoon down the way, Tulum. I mean, there's so many beautiful places.
We haven't
around
been
here.
to Bacalar yet, but the stuff I've seen.
It's crazy.
And I've researched like maybe 80 YouTube videos that I think I know there, but I haven't been. But I want to go so bad. Hopefully we could go before September.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, and Playa is great, and Playa is still really small.
Yeah.
But Bacalar is just a really tiny version of here. So it's a nice escape from the city.
Yeah, I'd love to go for like 4 or 5 days and bring a book.
Yeah.
And destroy that book, but also enjoy, because I know the lagoon that they have there, and then there's the alligator, then there's deers. They have like and then they do the turtle how do you say reservation reserve? Like all these things that I saw doing the research on YouTube, but I'm like, there's so much cool stuff, and then the nature just sitting there.
Yep.
And doing nothing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so
it's beautiful.
I would like to go. And also too, what do you think about like the food here, like the regular local Mexican food, and then the abundance of like very diverse food from all over the world, because we live in a multicultural city.
Yeah.
What do you think about that here?
I mean, the food in Mexico, I think, is absolutely incredible. You know, depending on the region that you're in, it's insanely good. Playa is unique though, because it's new, right? Like there's not a lot of history in Playa, so a lot of the food here is super new.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're really close to the Yucatan, so we do have like Yucatan influence in the food here. So yeah, I mean the Mexican food is great, but there's some really unique restaurants, and every day there's new places opening. Especially on the outskirts of the city.
Oh yeah, it's like because the city keeps growing that way. It's growing this way and that way.
Yeah.
So I guess we're south, north, and it's going west.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, north and west, like Seattle.
Yeah.
Anyways, so when people think of Mexico, right? And especially we're from the U.S., so we know the news is very, how do you say it? Interest-based.
Yeah.
Diplomacy. Very interest-based. And we hear negative stuff about Mexico or Mexican people, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to people who hold a stereotypical view of a negative stereotypical view of Mexico without even being here, without even knowing anything, but yet they're like, I'm not going to Mexico because of what they see? What would you say to those people so they could understand what you're experiencing living here and thriving here?
Yeah. I will give some stats, if that's okay.
No,
because,
please, do you. This is a free speech zone.
So when I first came to Mexico, I had a lot of people from the U.S. saying like, "Oh, be careful down there." And I said, "Be careful of what?" People said, "Well, a lot of Americans get shot accidentally when they're on vacation." So I did a little investigatory research because I really wanted to prove them wrong. And so the stats that I looked at was 2018.
Okay.
So in 2018, for every 100,000 U.S. tourists that came to Mexico, 0.02 were killed. Okay.
That's
that
not even...
same year in the United States.
Go ahead.
For every 100,000 U.S. residents, 5.6 were killed. In my hometown of Cleveland, it was 36.
Ay, Dios mío.
So for people who think that it's more dangerous for them to be down here, they only have to look at the statistics.
That's crazy.
Now, if people want to talk about petty crime, petty theft, as I was living in Seattle, our car was broken into 4 times and our apartment was broken into twice.
Sorry.
I've never had any of that happen here. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen here. But petty crime you're going to find in any city around the world.
Yes.
But yeah, I think most of it is just related to certain things that if you don't get involved in, it's never going to touch you.
Like anywhere in the world.
Like anywhere in the world.
Right? And
yeah.
especially if it's an illegal thing that you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's called common sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so that means, translation, he has not yet been kidnapped, from what we know, right?
Yeah.
And your kidneys are still there?
They're still there.
All right.
Still there,
okay.
still
Cool.
intact.
I always have to ask, for our, news telling us otherwise. And then also too, because it's a multicultural city, there's all different people from different religions, different races, or we're one human race. So I'm going to say different colors, right?
Yep.
So different colors, different everything here in Playa, just like it would be in Miami or New York. Have you ever experienced racism or seen it happen here, like as we would see in the U.S.? Like, have you ever felt it? Like,
no.
or is it a part of the consciousness here as it is back home?
From my perspective, no. I don't see that. Like, I think that can exist everywhere, 100%. One thing that I was really surprised by when I came down here was I came down at the end of 2020 with millions of other people who were like, get me out of this lockdown. And I kept thinking, I can't imagine if this was happening in reverse order. If
Lord.
Mexicans by the millions were flocking to the US to get out, how Americans would have reacted. And not one time did I have one Mexican say, you guys are coming down here, you're ramping up the rent for all of us, you're making it way harder for all of us. I've never heard anyone say that. The only thing that I've heard from Mexicans when I said, I just moved here, all they would say was, come and stay with me. I live in Guadalajara, I live in Mexico City, I live in Merida. Here's my number, you can come and stay with me for however long you want. Like, that's the kind of hospitality that I've experienced here. And it's part of the reason why, like, Mexico will always be a huge part of my heart.
I'm in agreement as well, because here, as a person, like, and especially being in the U.S., I've had some horrible experiences because of color, right? But I don't let that affect me, right? Because I refuse to be a victim. However, when I'm here, I'm a whole human. Unless I'm asking you these questions or we're having this conversation, I never think about race. I never think about anyone following me or a lady grabbing her purse or crossing the street. I just feel human. Not black, not black man, just human. And the only difference is might be a woman and a guy. That's the only difference I've ever experienced here in Playa. And also too that everyone is accepted, whether you're gay, straight, or whatever. Everyone walks in the street and everyone gets to be who they are. And without anyone following them or bothering. Oh yeah, Mexicans love minding their business, which is also a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
They let you be, or
Yeah.
another. I haven't been to Thailand yet, but I have a lot of Thai friends, and I have business interests in Thailand. And other Americans or Europeans that go to Thailand say Mexico reminds them of that when it comes to people minding their business and you being whoever you want to be or who you are.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that the same thing in Thailand?
Totally. I mean, it is a different vibe. Like Thais are they're very proud people. They're a bit nationalistic.
Well, they've never been colonized. I
Yes.
hope they should be.
Yeah. So it is a different feeling. Like when you come to Mexico as an American, it's much easier. Like it's okay, 6 months. Here's a stamp. Yeah, come back in 6 months and you'll get another 6 months.
Yes.
In Thailand, it's a bit more of a process. You know, you have to go and apply for a visa, then you have to go every 3 months to immigration, then 3 months later you have to leave the country, and it's a little bit more difficult to live there long term.
Yes.
Here, you know, I came on the 6-month visa stamps, and then I got my residency really quickly.
Shout out to the residency people. Yeah,
so
we're
easy.
3 years right now. I have a 3-year one.
Same.
I
Same.
see.
Same.
Shout out to all the residencies. But let's be honest as well too. The bureaucracy here, when you have to do government stuff, like we have a business here and we had a location.
Yeah.
Like you know that how they in Asia they have the perfect Zen monks where nothing could bother them. I almost became a Zen master from the patience that I had to, as a crazy New York business person, I had to woosah and learn to, because I'm here as a guest.
Yeah.
It's not my country. I can't tell others what to do. Thus, I either go crazy, get beat up, or calm the hell down and practice Zen habits.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right? Like putting yourself into these situations that aren't easy, it's just good practice. It's good practice to just like stop, breathe, and realize like you can't control everything.
Yes, and what would you say to people, like, you know, a lot of our, I guess, stresses that we have or mental blocks that we have is because we try to control things we can't control. Right? So what would you advise to these beautiful people when dealing with things you can't control? Like, what would you suggest to them?
Just forget about it. No, I mean, just take a deep breath, slowly exhale it out, you know, and just realize, like, you can control things within you, right? You can control your breathing. You can control your anxiety. You can control your stress. That's it. You can't control how other people respond to those things. But like once you're able to do that for yourself, it's a powerful feeling. So just working on yourself, you know, like I tell people that I don't care about purpose anymore. I care about wellness.
Oh, I want to know why and why. Go ahead. No, sorry for interrupting, but it's piqued interest.
Because when you take care of yourself, particularly when you take care of your body takes care of your mind. And so when your body and your mind are both healthy, your purpose becomes much more clear. Ooh. And it becomes much easier to understand what you're supposed to do. When you're clogging your body with alcohol, with porn, with addictions, with social media, you know, that's when it starts to get confusing. And when you're not taking enough time to close your eyes and to go inside, suddenly your purpose seems to be really skewed. So it's the more you take care of yourself in many different ways too, like not just breathing, not just ice baths. There's a million different things that you can do, and that's why it's important for us as adults to just try everything. Like try everything, see what clicks, and then do what you enjoy.
That is a on-point answer. I have nothing to add or follow up with because it feels and sounds right and logical at the same time. Oh my goodness. All right. So the type of people who come to you for the work that you do, or how do you describe the work that you do for people? If someone asks, like, how do you help people? Like, what's your words? I want to use your words.
So I really help people kind of break out of some of these emotional barriers, right? Whether that be anxiety, whether that be depression, whether that be like someone who's just chronically angry about things. Like a lot of guys that I work with are just like chronically frustrated, and they don't know why. I work with some guys who are, chronically addicted to porn, because that's something that I went through too, like during my depression. So it's just for one reason or another, they find me because they understand, like, okay, we breathe a lot. We're doing it all day long. If we can breathe in a different way, like, will that impact our lives? Okay. And the answer is obviously yes. But a lot of times you need a guide, right? It's one of these skills where it's not that difficult, but there's a couple really important things you need to know first before you start doing it. And so that's what I help people to do, is to help people understand what those things are, and then how they can apply it to their life.
Sort of, so the similar process, like the preparation and management of expectations, like what you do with the ice bath.
Yeah.
What makes it from scary to, oh, I could possibly do this. Oh, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
All because you prepped and you understand, I guess, the human psychology and the fear, that blockage that we have.
And it's, a lot of it's too, like, this might sound silly, but it's form, like the way that we breathe. Most of us start breathing incorrectly from the age of 5. We see how adults breathe and we copy that. And then we start getting these messages from the media that bellies are unattractive, right? Yeah. So from about the age of 5, kids start sucking in their bellies. So when they start sucking in their bellies, they start breathing up here with their chest. They start using all these secondary breathing muscles. Suddenly they start feeling like pain and stress in their shoulders,
that might be me.
In their neck. They start getting headaches. Yeah, I mean, there's a few breathing dysfunctions that many people have. And so if you're able to just know what those breathing dysfunctions are and just see what a proper breath looks like, you can change things really quick.
Apparently, I'm going to have to do some of your sessions with you. One, for myself to try, like you said, and also two, to show other people that a person like me, who's like, just like a regular person who usually doesn't think of these kinds of systems or practices to enhance life, that you could do it and your life can be enhanced or better, and even like have these pains. You just described like me for like 10 years. Yeah. All the bad that I feel.
I was the same too, yeah. And I think many people are in that same situation.
And I didn't know, and I thought it was like a physical thing. Right. Like I hurt myself or blah, 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 versus that it might be internal. Like every problem we have, like how people get cancers or like crazy, mental or problems with their digestion, all that, comes from stress, thinking, unable to manage the emotions. And we don't know that because we are taught it's something physical with your body.
Right.
So now I'm going to do all these things. I have to reschedule my life. But I want to have a quality life. Even though I'm joking, I want to have a quality life without pain, and a quality life where I control more of it. Yeah. And some of the things and practices which you're sharing with us right now could possibly help me and help all you people. Yeah. And do you do stuff, lessons online and or on the internet as well?
Yeah, so I'm currently putting a course together. It's going to be a four-week online course, because a lot of people don't want individual coaching. They just want something that they can go through at their own time, at their own pace. People are super busy.
Yep.
So that's going to be out in just a few weeks for people.
And what is it called? The name of the course?
It's called Stasis.
Stasis.
So stasis is just the idea of finding balance and equilibrium.
The homeostasis, right?
Exactly. But I also do like individual coaching for people who want to like learn how to breathe properly. I'll do group courses for people online, and then I'll do things here in person in Playa del Carmen, whether that be like for a retreat, for a corporate event. There's so many different things that I do with groups.
Oh, and so like tell us about your corporate events, because I didn't know this. And what do you do with the corporate events, and why should some corporations or departments at companies seek this kind of service?
Yeah, well, a lot of like interesting data is how things like stress and anxiety affect people in the workplace, and how many sick days people take due to stress and anxiety. So when I go in with a corporate event, like normally this is online. I haven't done that many in person.
Okay.
But it's just teaching people how to breathe. That's it, you know? Sitting at your desk, one of the biggest breathing dysfunctions that many people don't talk about is posture.
Okay.
Because most of us are sitting at our desks all day like this, right?
Yes.
Our head is hunched forward, our shoulders are hunched forward. If you go into a coffee shop, if you go into a cafe, especially here in Playa del Carmen, you'll see everyone like this.
Yes.
So when you do something like this all day long, there's no way you can take a full breath in and out. So
Man.
automatically, right, it's just limiting the amount that you can breathe, but then it's just putting all this stress and tension on your neck and your shoulders. And once you start like really paying attention to people walking around, you see how we're dis-evolving, how our necks are just moving forward. It's happening really, 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 really fast. So I'm trying to A, teach people how to breathe, B, encourage corporations to provide standing desks for all their employees, because so that they don't have to sit in that terrible position for very long. So yeah, it's just like really simple wellness techniques that I'm working on.
Oh my goodness. Because you don't think about these things, right? Like you brought all these things, and like to combat that, I got one of the computer stands, so it's eye level for me, so I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And then I got a gaming chair as well, so that I could sit. Like I have the cushions and all that, so I'm forced to sit this way. And then I have a little cushion around my neck, so I don't do this.
Perfect.
Right? But
Perfect.
imagine having that plus because a lot of it is not knowing that these postures that we're in causes problems.
Right.
And then not knowing that these postures that we're in causes not just physical, but then we're not breathing fully. Like I just learned all this from you right now, and I never had that into a factor in thinking and in doing things.
Yeah.
So see, I already learned a lot from. No, you could actually help many people with this knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, I'm like, man, I know how to like create a meme for this. Or while you were speaking, I was like, ooh, a video, how to make this video so that people could understand this problem and explain how this could help it.
Right, right.
Yeah, because this, I guess, inspired me from within as well.
Cool.
So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So now, we have only a few questions left. So when you decided to become a digital nomad, why? Like, what made you say, I'm going to go to Asia and stay there for years upon years? Like, what triggered that in you?
I never really felt at home in the U.S., to be honest. From a really young age, I thought the goal was to leave. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I realized a lot of people didn't feel that way. You know, they felt like they wanted to grow up where they were born and make a life there. But for me, I grew up thinking, I need to go, like I need to get out. And when I was 21, I actually broke my neck.
Oh.
And I was paralyzed for a little bit. Luckily, I was able to walk again. But that was definitely something that lit a fire under me, because I realized, like, okay, I'm mortal. I can die.
I'm mortal.
And I might as well go see the world and experience as many things as I can. And so that's what I did. You know, I bought a one-way ticket not long after that, and I've basically been traveling kind of ever since.
That was a wake-up call, right? But most people get wake-up calls, but they snooze.
Yep.
And then 40 years later, like, man, I should have listened to that wake-up call. But you did, to my opinion, you did what your intuition, the universe tapped into you and told you to do. Yeah. And it's funny that you say about, I've never met someone who said what you said about, like, I never thought I fit in it. I knew I needed to travel. I've always felt that way in the U.S. as well. I don't say this out loud because some people are super wouldn't call it patriotic, but if you are just your life, your dream for yourself is different than theirs, they're antagonized just by that because they perceive it, at least in the U.S., as if you're saying their dreams or their lives are not worth it.
Right.
Versus you're doing you. Like I hear you say this, like you could say something completely opposite from what I believe, but it's your life. You're free to do it. I don't see it as you rejecting me or my beliefs. It's not that serious.
Yeah, and like there's things that I love about the U.S. You know, like there's a lot of things that I really, really appreciate and enjoy about it. But the world is a big place.
Big.
And there's so many amazing places to go and to see and to experience. And for me, I grew up in the US, so I have the rest of my life to see the rest of the world.
I love your perspective and mindset. It's good. It's open, and you could learn so many things and apply it to solve many problems, because the more information you have and experiences, the more quality of life you could have to make the right decisions for you.
Yeah.
And what would you give as advice to people who would like to be a digital nomad or an expat, and they're scared, or they think that it's not feasible, or they don't have enough money, or they'll wait till the right time? You know, all the words and excuses that we tell ourselves. What would you tell that person right now that's in the US that's like, man, I would like to try?
Yeah. Well, the money thing, you're never gonna have enough, right? Like, you're never gonna feel like, oh, I feel safe doing this. When I quit my remote job and I wanted to focus solely on the projects here in Playa, I didn't have much money at all. And I got to a point where I was like, the bottom of the plane was kind of just scraping along the runway. But I just would breathe. I'd wake up every morning, I would breathe, and I would say, I'm doing things that are not just helping me, but they're helping other people too. And slowly but surely, like, that plane started to take off again. And so everything else is really just doing it. Like, you find the courage at some point. If it's something that you feel like you want to do, don't say, I'm gonna plan, I gotta wait for the right moment, because that moment is never gonna come. There's always gonna be something that's gonna pop up that's gonna make it tougher. So just do it. Like, every time I've decided to move somewhere in my life, I didn't really think about it that much. I just listened to the voice inside, and it said, it's time to go, and I just bought the ticket and went. And I never once have said, I regretted that, it's always been the right decision. Doesn't mean everything worked out as I planned, but in the end, looking back, I'm always so happy that I made the choice.
Thank you for answering that. And next one is, I'm trying to phrase it very well. Oh, here it is. Your younger self, yourself today, and on your way through this journey of living in the world, living abroad, and thriving, what would you tell your younger self starting this journey? Some advice as to some things to avoid, some things to do better that you could have done better, and if you knew then, you would do.
Not asking other people's opinions.
Whoa, and why is that? I agree with that. I'm with you 100%. But why do you say that?
Because everyone's is different, and especially when I've been building businesses, I could ask 10 people the same question, and I'll get 10 different answers. What really matters is how I want to do it, and how I want to build it, and how I want my voice to come through. So I can spend all day listening to other people, and I'm not saying that dialogue isn't important, but when it comes to something that you want to do, if you feel like you really want to do it, just go and do it. A lot of times people get kind of bogged down by their own past experiences, and they'll say things like, yeah, that's too hard, or like, yeah, but it's really challenging as an American. Whatever it may be, there's always going to be an excuse, or there's always going to be something that other people have experienced. And I've let that kind of change some of my direction a little bit over life. Now I don't at all. Like, when I feel like, And the ice baths have helped me with this. If I feel like I want to do something and suddenly it seems too challenging, it seems too hard, I stop what I'm doing and I'll go and spend 3 hours on YouTube watching videos on how to do it. I won't let myself get trapped in like, this is going to be too difficult. I don't know how to do it. I have access to the whole world. You know, YouTube is like the university.
YouTube, you know,
right?
YouTube you.
Yeah, I'll literally just stop my day and just spend hours just learning how to do it.
And that's how I learned many things too. Like I even did research to come here on YouTube because of all the traveling people or the digital nomads or expats who live here. And what else? I learned how to work all these cameras. I learned how to do Premiere editing. I learned how to do CapCut editing, desktop and phone, all these things, all YouTube. And like you, and so what I got from your great answer and inspiring answer is for all you people is ready. 2, ignorance is a choice, and you don't have to choose to be ignorant. And second, it's up to you to learn and to do for you, because no one else is going to do it. And the more you learn, the more you could, and do research, the more you can have more confidence in what you're going to do. Because you have your knowledge base, and the less you need to hear other people with their life experiences. And you said something important, the past pains or past failures that people have, they bring into what they're doing now. But the problem with getting opinions from most people is that that's what they do, and not many people work on themselves to let it go. Because I know my past experiences, it took me forever to do this too. It's the past. It's supposed to teach me a lesson, and it's meant to happen so I could be where I am today. But holding on to an anchor or like an excuse is not going to help me today at all. It's just gonna Hindenburg. Yeah, it's gonna, like, it went down, right? It did?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I don't want to hinder myself. And how did you develop, like, you know, from depression, and then you have such a beautiful mindset now, from like being depressed to like sounding like a person, like if I were to speak to you now, I would have not understood or known or assumed you ever were depressed. And that's like such a tremendous thing that you've done. And I hope you're proud of yourself for that. And what would you suggest to people who are going through depression or like anxiety or feeling sad or confused? What would you suggest to them from your own words?
Just keep trying things. You know what I mean? It's not, those states are just states. They're temporary states, and you should not be engulfed in them forever, right? So you can find things that can pull you out, but you just have to keep looking, and you just have to keep trying. And the more you try, like eventually you're gonna find that thing that just pulls you straight out of it really quickly.
And also, one last thing, where could all these beautiful people find you, your services, and just ask questions? Because you seem like you could help many people. Not seem, you do help many people, but to help many people, how could they find you?
So
and let them know that.
My website is kevinpconnolly.com, where I do all the breath work. And then for the ice baths, that's reconnect.mx.
Oh, and do you still have your content up from all the photography you did in the past? Because that's interesting to me, at least.
I think yes, I do still have some of that, a very small amount on my Instagram, which is Kevin P. Connolly.
See, all right. And if you like his photos, let him know so he can give him one more job to continue. So thank you so much for being part of Abroad and Thriving.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And I was not expecting this awesome interview from, your life experiences, and this episode is gonna help so many people. So thank you very much, and thank you for sharing. Abroad and Thriving, Abroad and Thriving, Abroad and Thriving. Thank you for tuning in to Abroad and Thriving. Stay beautiful and keep doing you, and don't listen to other people because they don't know you and they can't do you as best as you can. Abroad and Thriving. Mwah!
Hey, my name's Kevin. Thank you so much for watching Abroad and Thriving. I'll see you guys in the ice.
That's awesome, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it much.